This is at the top of my list. The Green Knight.
Number one, baby. Let's
fucking
go.
Blew me away, dude. It absolutely blew me away. And it's funny because I was trying to think about like, man, what was I really looking for from the Green Knight? We saw the trailers. We thought the trailer looked pretty good. This like medieval fantasy, based on a poem from long, long ago. Arthurian times. Legend. But I didn't really know what I wanted out of this, right? I think I wanted it to be exciting and kind of weird because you see like the giants and stuff. It's going to be some out there fantasy stuff, but this far exceeded my expectations. Not only, I think, in the visuals, like you alluded to, just like absolutely stunning, but man, this is like weird. Like this is like some out there shit that I left the theater and I think I've been trying to like get my head around like the themes of it all. And there's just like so much that's tied up, but it's still such a cohesive story that it isn't impacted at all. Just really impressed with this. What did you think of The Green Knight?
Yeah, it's honestly one of the most like propulsive existential things I've ever seen. Like it is so existential and metaphysical the entire time. And yet it is still enthralling scene to scene. Like it's crazy how confident the Green Knight is in not being a traditional coming of age epic fantasy story. It's so not that, and it's so happy to not be that, and yet it still consistently wraps you. I was blown away. I absolutely loved it. Also, my number one movie of the year so far. It's a movie we knew was coming back in 2020. Of course, A24 sat on this, held it for theatrical release, and
they knew what they had.
They knew what they had, and it worked for them. This was their fourth highest grossing opening weekend ever for A24, despite the pandemic, about 7 million. And I believe the cinema score was like C plus or something, which sounds bad, but for A24, that's actually on the high end. So this is in good position to have a nice box office per their standards and then dominate on VOD. So I'm very happy that this is gonna get its just desserts because it's earned. It's so good.
And just before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of what made this such a great movie, I could see this being a really strong box office. Obviously, when it gets to like awards time, people are catching up. I could see people like being like, "Holy shit, this movie's fucking great!" Because and we should shout out first David Lowery is a director we've talked about before. He really broke out in 2017 with A Ghost Story. We talked about The Old Man, the Gun in 2018 with Robert Redford. I think it was one of his last films.
It was his last movie.
And that also being a movie that we both really liked. I think about that movie a lot. I should rewatch that soon. But Lowery just continues to kind of put out these A24 type movies that just really capture us. And man, I think to start, Dev Patel is just phenomenal, start to finish in this. Where he is in the start of this movie as this like, rambunctious, kind of just out there looking to like enjoy life kid, not really having a direction. And that's the thing is he does kind of look like a kid in this. He's like what, mid-30s, maybe even 40. And
Slumdog Millionaire was 2008.
Crazy. and he looks like very young when this starts, and the way he just kind of glides in and out of these scenes, levels of confidence going up and down, his interactions, his mannerisms from one scene to another, the way who is it in that scene where he like finds he's walking through the field of the battle and that
Barry Keoghan.
Barry Keoghan, yes, from Dunkirk fame. The way that they play off each other is just phenomenal. You see him kind of feeling out Joel Edgerton, and like their scenes are just really electric. And then of course every scene between him and the Queen, Alicia Vikander, is just like total dynamite, dude. And
she's in a good movie again, dude.
She's back.
She's back.
That was the thing is I saw her show up and I was like, oh, this better be good. I can't take another hit for Vikander, and man, it's so good. She's so good in this.
Eh,
Um, go ahead.
yeah, so just reading up on the Green Knight. So obviously it invokes it in the opening title card, but it's based on Sir Gawain in the Green Knight by Anonymous, which is just part of the greater Arthurian legend. It's not explicitly said in the Green Knight film, but Sean Harris' King character is King Arthur, and Gawain's mom, the sorcerer, is actually like Morgan Le Fay, like the chief antagonist of King Arthur,
Hmm.
and the Green Knight is already a character. So like it's all like kind of like twists and spins on that story. And I saw some people like, oh, they totally changed it, blah blah blah. But like, there's tons of scholarship about the Green Knight story and its interpretations. Like you can read like J.R.R. Tolkien himself toiled over the meaning of the Green Knight for decades, like publicly. Like it is like actually like one of the richest texts in terms of like like old school texts go and Arthurian types of texts go. So no one should have any problem with David Lowery deciding to change things up. Like Gawain isn't actually like the entitled heir in this film. Like you said, he's quite different. But the whole, I think the meditation on the movie, and I think this is where I kind of settle with it when you see the whole thing, is like there's like the chivalry stuff, but also like what's your purpose, and like do you care about your own honor and stuff, and like like do you want to live your own life even if you didn't keep your word and stuff like that. I think that's kind of like where you start to have it distill, because that's where like Gawain's like conclusions go. Like it has an absolutely thrilling finale. It's like
Oh
15
yeah.
minutes long, no dialogue. And then you realize at the end, snaps back that was all in his head of Gawain
Hmm.
foreseeing a future if he did a certain thing, certain way. And having it snap back, I was like, that was fucking genius. Honestly,
Yep.
I loved it because I mean, I would have been satisfied if it ended that way. I was like,
Hmm.
he didn't make the right call. He fucked up, and he kind of had a shitty. She went out in a shitty way. Damn, that's not the most satisfying ending either.
Yeah.
No, they have it snap back, and then you just kind of a quick cut and it ends like soon after. I was like, wow, like it's so thoughtful, but also so open for interpretation, like at every turn.
That's the thing is I feel like I've like gone back and forth on like what themes stand out to me most. You kind of just mentioned like what's your purpose? How do you want to live your life? The values you want to live by, and that ending that kind of juxtaposes that whether he makes the choice to run from the Green Knights game or to stay and have honor within the game, his head's being lopped off either way. It's about like how do you like what do you want your story to say about you? Like what do you want the legends to be? So in this case, but
Mhm.
then I think also like the themes around like love and family really stand out to me. The whole Joel Edgerton scene with Lisa Vikander being his wife and them being in that weird castle and like him kind of questioning him like, well, what do you most want in life? Oh, to have honor. Oh, and then how do you get that? Just by going to this chapel? Yeah. Oh well, I'm glad it's so easy for you. And then he's just kind of like
It's but a
sitting and
day's
thinking.
journey.
Yeah.
Come
And he's
back on
just
your
like,
return home.
yep. And then you have Vikander. That whole sequence is just like a dream. The whole thing
Mm,
just feels like a dream, and you're just kind of like, there's so much at play here. I just found it, really, really thought provoking. And you mentioned the visuals. I mean, so I picked the background I have behind me. It's like this, like for those who are listening on audio, it's Dev Patel, and I forgot what part of the movie this was, but it's like this like orange glow. I think it was like right after he had, um, I think it's like right after he left the, um,
Edgerton, right?
yeah, Edgerton.
He's like right
Yeah, I'm
before he
pretty
gets
sure.
to the Green Chapel, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. But there's so many scenes, and the way that the camera lingers and just slowly moves around the scenery or just lets you chew up what's happening, whether it's him riding away from the castle to start the journey,
Hmm.
or when he gets tied up by Kyogen and it kind of pans around and then
Yeah,
shows him as a skeleton that just stayed there,
and it
or then it pans
reverses
back
back.
and he
Yeah.
yeah, and he's like, okay, I have to get up and like figure a way out of this. Like there's just so many brilliant little touches. Lowry just really impressed with this the
Mhm.
whole time.
Yeah, and he said a few times that the shoot was like pretty miserable. They shot this like in the Irish countryside, but it was fucking worth it, man. It's gorgeous. Anytime Dev's just riding a horse, walking in the woods, it's just like such like vibrant colors the way they like color correct, and like the verdant scenes in the green, like it just looks gorgeous constantly. And uh, from the jump, like once he goes on his quest, I loved how it felt like a quest. Like, it's like, and like again, it looks awesome the whole time. He like gets to the fork in the road and he looks around and he's like, I think I go this way, and he goes that way. Gets to the battlefield and like nothing's explained. You have no idea why there's huge, large scale battlefield just happened, not that far from where he lives. And
Mhm.
then he encounters Kyogen, and Kyogen is a perfect character to have as like
Oh
the
my
guy you
god.
meet on your quest because he's a really neurotic actor, and
Mhm.
it was amazing. And
Yeah.
you have later on where like the first step when you start getting metaphysical, and he encounters Aaron Kellerman, who we've been talking about a lot lately, of course, and she's a fucking ghost, and he's
Mhm.
like, "Are you a ghost? Huh?" But like the way it ends when like and he's like, "Are you real?" And she's like, "What's that matter?
What's
I
the
just want my
difference?
head." Or
Yeah,
what's the difference?
what's the
I just need my
difference?
head.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then he dives down into the water and it's that like red glow as he's like swimming, and it's just like just so, I don't know, really mesmerizing. Um, Also, just shout out cute animals in movies. We didn't talk
Mm,
about the leopard, or is it a leopard, or is it a
Jaguar maybe. Yeah.
jaguar in Jungle Cruise, but also the fox in this, who was his mom kind of like guiding him. I
Yeah.
thought was really cool. And yeah, man, I feel like everybody that pops up, Sean Harris, it was like I think a perfect choice for the king,
Yeah.
because I just associate him with his character in all the Mission Impossible. So you just
Right.
kind of expect something really like
Sinister.
eerie to happen. Yeah. And it's not overtly sinister, but almost like the way he like frames all of this for Gawain kind of is like this like driving force to his story is like kind of sinister when you look back. And then
Mm.
having Katie Dickey from Game of Thrones uh fame, who was that kid that was sucking on her tit when he was like 8 years old?
Oh, Robin Aaron.
Yes, Robin Air. Yes, uh, just having those two, it's like you. I just felt like that was like perfect casting. But this movie just rules, man. Like
Yeah.
it's really just great.
And I like the voice work too. Like when the Green Knight shows up, and then
Hmm.
the Queen gets like possessed, and you hear like reading out the letter in the different voice later on when the fox talks for the first time. Like
Yep.
both these really stand out examples of voice work. Um, I really like the scene when he encounters the all the bald giants. Kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of like the Blade Runner 2049 hologram scene, like the
Mm,
starkness of the scale and whatnot. Um, the Green Knight himself, the design, um,
awesome.
which I believe is pretty original. It's almost like he was a fucking Ent from Lord of the Rings. It's like this tree creature, and how
Mhm.
like when he puts the axe down and like it starts to like make moss and stuff. There's just so many
Yep.
awesome touches. Uh, Man, and honestly, I mean, you mentioned like already how is it kind of like dreamlike, but like when he gets to Edgerton's estate,
Hmm.
and then you find out his wife is also played by Alicia Vikander. Like that to me, that like blew my mind. Like I believe like everyone's kind of selling on it's just Vikander playing two different characters, and it's like kind of in Guy Wayne's head they're not actually connected. But like when I
Hmm.
was watching, I was like, what the fuck does this mean? Why is she here
Yeah,
too?
dude, I had the same response, but also I was getting to the point where I was kind of like, kind of a thankless role for Vikander, and then she gets
Yeah.
to show up and be this
Yes.
like mesmerizing, totally like perfect looking queen in this like,
Right.
I don't know, like maze of like a maze of
Castle.
fuckery in this place, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, holy shit, this is amazing. So
And
this,
a great contrast too from her being like a pixie cut uh, brothel member.
yeah, but
Very
also
different.
like very sweet, straightforward, like kind character. Like it's a great juxtaposition of those two. So yeah, man. I feel like this is a movie I'm gonna watch again and probably have like five more takeaways. But I really hope this gets some awards love because it rules. So
It does, yeah. Definitely a movie I want to like really stump for and get people to see because it's not um, conventional. So it's definitely not for everyone. Like there are film nerd qualities to this, and I think they're just the fact that it's like not the most I don't want to say coherent, but it doesn't like directly tell you how to feel about things,
Mhm.
and that might not be satisfying to everyone. That's the kind of stuff that just inherently isn't for everyone. So
Yeah.
that's why you're going to get a reaction where some people just quite dislike the film, and that's fine, of course, if that's your reaction. But to me, there's just so much to recommend, just from the craft angle, from the visuals of it all, just the whole experience of watching the movie. And to me, the unknown is what's so appealing, because again, this is unlike basically anything we get.
And those closing lines, "Well done, my Green Knight. Now off with your head." Just like perfect. This movie is great.